Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Algorand's price chart and see what is going on. But before we get into all that good stuff, we are going to talk about Algorand's numbers on October. And it seems like that once more we are back on the right direction. And in terms of monthly active users, we were up about 20%. In terms of new asset created, we were up about 50%. That's nice. In terms of smart contracts, 8% increase. Okay, not that bad. In terms of wallets, about 1.5% increase. In terms of transactions, also a 2% increase. And in my view, what really matters is probably going to be that transaction volume metric. And as you can see, in October, we have actually seen a beautiful increase and we got about 64 million transactions, and in July we got about 52. So essentially October was actually much better than the previous 3 months, which is awesome. And if you are wondering, well, okay, why is it that we are not really back at these levels? Well, in case you are new to Algorand, you should know that back in these days, Algorand actually had a partnership with TravelX, and the reason for why transaction volume was actually a big time, especially in 2024, and for example in November of 2024 we had about a 127 million transaction in terms of volume, which was awesome. But as you can see, from that point moving forward, it was essentially all downhill. And the fact that right now we are bouncing a little, in my view, is definitely an optimistic sign. But again, we have to admit this, we are not really completely there yet. But again, this is definitely a nice start. Also, in terms of daily active addresses, as you can see, since August, we have been on a steady rise. And again, that's all I want to see from Algo. Number one, I want to see a steady rise. And number two, I do not really want to see them once more making the TravelX mistake and put all their eggs only and only in one basket. So when a partner wants to part ways with Algorand, they have to do some desperate moves. And for example, tell them, well, okay, we are even prepared to subsidize like the very low fees. Okay, that in my view was like a massive mistake that happened in TravelX. So I would really appreciate it if they don't really do it once more. So overall, in terms of fundamentals, seems like that we are once more back on the right direction. And yep, it definitely took them some time to get back on the right track. But hey, here we are. Hopefully from this point moving forward, we are just going to do better and better and better. Now, let's go on the live chart and see what is going on. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about Algo, I think we were right around these areas. And the idea was that, well, okay, this initial move off of the lows is probably in form of a 5-wave, followed by that we are having a correction. And I think back then when we were around in here, I said I'm really hoping that we're going to get a good bounce from these areas in order to have some sort of a V-shaped recovery and essentially get back around this region about 22.5 cents, which was the beginning of the massive liquidation event that we got in a lot of altcoins. And Algorand, I think, actually came out a bit better, but again, it was nonetheless a beautiful liquidation event. Let's just actually measure it real quick from the highs to about the lows. This was about a 50% move on the downside, and in a lot of alts we actually got something like 70-80. Even in case of Atom, we got a 100% move down, which was absolutely unbelievable. But you know, here we are. Every single cycle the market throws a curveball at you, and this was definitely one of them. Now, question, what is going on right now? In my view, we are starting to see some really optimistic signs, and that's actually one reason for why right in here I opened some long positions in Algorand. You see, in terms of Elios waves, if you want to say that we have hit our final low, let's say around this area, maybe this is like a decent support, then okay, off of the lowest low in here, you have to be able to find a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside. This specific count is called an impulse. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between our wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, our wave 3 under any kind of circumstances should not be the smallest wave. And when it comes to the subwaves, you know what I'm about to say. We're gonna have 5 wave up into wave 1, 3, and 5, and for wave 2 and 4, we can consider different scenarios. Let's say, yeah, okay, WXY into wave 2 and ABCS structure into our wave 4. Now, let's go on the live chart and see what is going on. And first things first, can we argue that maybe to about the lows we are having the subwaves for a correctional structure? The answer, surprisingly, yes. I still do believe, by the way, that this is ABC down. Now I'm gonna say this was a correction on the upside, and this can be, let's just take this one, maybe, yes, 5 down to about this point into an A leg correction for wave B, and another 5 down into C, completing the subwaves for hopefully a WXY in form of a double zigzag. But unfortunately, this is really not enough for us to be able to say, yeah, you know what, we have hit the lows with a good bit of confidence. No, I think we are having some more optimistic signs to talk about a bullish cat. Let's go on 15-minute chart so we can see the candles a bit better. You see, in my view, in this initial bounce in ALGO, we are sort of kind of able to find a 5 wave on the upside. Also, let's just do this. I do think this is another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, and this can be yet another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside. And on a higher degree, I am really hoping that in Algorand, these are going to be the subwaves for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, meaning what? Yep, hopefully we have hit the lows right in here. Now, here's a question. What happens after a 5 wave up, even if we want to go according to the most bold case? You know it. We are going to have nonetheless a move on the downside. So the fact that we are having this move down by itself is not necessarily a bad sign. And what it matters is actually the shape of this specific move. So let's just do this and see what is going on. And you can actually consider in this region many different counts. For instance, here is one. You see, you can argue this is an A, B, C in form of a zigzag structure. This can be correction up followed by yet another ABC zigzag. So essentially you are having a WXY in form of a double zigzag, and this is a bullish setup, indicating on a higher degree we are having a wave 1 correction for 2, and what's next? Great move on the upside into our wave 3 and 4 and 5. And this, my friends, is actually one very important reason for why right in here about 15.8 cents, I actually opened some long positions in ALGO. My stop loss is surprisingly going to be under this low in here, about 13.3 cents. And my targets, well, if this is truly happening, well, okay, I think the bare minimum target, again, pay attention, the bare minimum target is going to be reaching to about this important area, about 23 cents. So essentially, I'm having a risk to reward ratio of about 1 to 2.5, 1 to 3, which is definitely not that bad. Now, can we consider some other counts? Yes. And it's very important to understand that any analyst at any given moment should be actually able to come up with a bullish and also a bearish count at the same time. So in the interest of being objective, we are going to do that. You see, the bearish case in Algorand is telling you maybe this is the one, this is the correction for wave 2, and then maybe like a 1, 2, 3. Running flat for 4, another move down into wave 5 to about this point into wave 3 on a higher degree, correction for 4, maybe like a triangle structure, and then another move on the downside into our wave 5, meaning this is actually the beginning of a move down. And in our move, we are going to once more, unfortunately, in ALGO, take the loss down here about 14.5 cents area. Is this possible? Absolutely. Is this likely? For now, I'm going to argue my primary scenario is actually the bullish one, indicating hopefully, we are going to have another move on the upside. But here's the situation. One way or the other, in Algorand, in the short term, I do think we are going to get a move up. And let me actually rephrase that. Not only in Algorand, but in a lot of altcoins, I do think we are going to see some moves on the upside. And you better believe that in the coming move up that we are going to get, hopefully even from the current point, I'm going to pay full attention to the shape of our move, okay? That is really what's going to determine what is happening in ALGO in this area, and am I right and the bullish scenario is in play or not. If we end up having a very strong bounce, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, without a lot of overlapping of the waves, that is going to be an awesome sign confirming the bullish scenario. On the other hand, if we end up getting a very slow and choppy move up in form of a correction and between our pullbacks down in this phase, you're just constantly going to be able to identify overlapping of the waves. That is like a really, really bad sign for us, suggesting, you know what, maybe on a higher degree, we are looking bearish, and this is one, this is two, meaning what's next? Yep, good move down into wave 3, 4, 5, and my stop loss is going to get hit. So as you can see, overall, I think soon we can expect a move up in algo, but the move itself is not really that important. Honestly, it is sort of kind of predictable. What really matters is the shape of that move. Okay, it's very, very important to understand that. Now, let's zoom in more in here and check out some indicators and then wrap up today's video. So what do we have in a stock RSI and MACD? Unfortunately, in both of these indicators at the same time, we are having sell signals, which is really not ideal. I fully admit this, but in a stock RSI, we are pretty much as oversold as it gets, meaning I think bears are actually running out of steam, and hopefully soon bulls are going to take charge and send the price higher. So if you want to go just according to indicators, I would like to suggest just be a bit more patient, maybe for another couple of weeks, and until you're not seeing buy signals in these indicators, I think you might be better off staying out of the market. Now, what is happening in daily time frame? Okay, so we do have in here at the same time once more sell signals, but it seems like that in stock RSI we want to get a buy, and also the signal that we are having in MACD is not really necessarily that strong, meaning if the next, let's say, 2 or 3 candlesticks are going to be green ones, which I do think they are going to be, well, okay, at that point, odds are you are going to see buy signals once more in these two indicators, which can be a good sign, and hopefully it is going to push the price higher and higher. And by the way, I forgot to tell you this. Let's just do this. Okay, so as you can see on the live chart, we are having a low. The other one is a low, but in MACD, this is a low, and by like a very small margin, the other one is actually a higher low. And also in momentum, okay, this is actually much more clear. We are having a low, the other one is a higher low, generally confirming that important sign that we talked about earlier, suggesting bears are actually kind of sort of running out of steam. So these are essentially the reasons for why I opened some long positions in algo, and hopefully in the next couple of days, maybe a week or two, we are going to see some good moves on the upside, and we all are going to make quite a good bit of money. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Algorand's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.